went on for a while. You know, you were making money off her. So when you say that, you know, you didn't know that it was illegal, what didn't you know if that?
I didn't.
The case?
I'm sorry. I didn't mean I didn't know if it was illegal. I didn't know that. One, I didn't know the victim's age, and even regardless of her age, it was wrong what I'd done regardless. You know what I mean? Once I came to jail, my mind was cleared up, and then I started to see the paperwork and the police report, and then I'm like, that's when it hit me, the remorse and the things that. No, don't get me wrong. Everything that I'd done was wrong. You know what I mean? It was going on for a week span with the victim, but like I said, I didn't know it was like I didn't know her age and none of that, and that's when I figured out, you know, things were wrong.
It went on for a week, you said?
Yeah, yes.
How long were you with the victim? I have months.
The police report, I only knew the victim for 1 week. I'm not gonna lie. You can see it in the police report.
That's where I'm getting my information from.
We are about to watch the parole hearing of a man who has a record that is so extensive and terrible. It is shocking, I think, to the senses that he has simply a 4-year sentence for this latest offense. Now, he tries to play it off like, what did he do wrong? He didn't know her age. He had only done it for a week. But the information that Sir Richard found on this case shows us very clear picture of a very different story. This young girl ran away from her home in New York because of what her biological grandfather was doing to her, along with other relatives. This man found her in Times Square and took her back to Connecticut and subsequently began selling her. It is months and months and months later after the initial report that she is found by detectives. And we'll get into the details of that unpacking at the end. But for now, I'm sure he thinks that with his necklace, he'll just get around everything. Maybe they'll just give him parole. How could we have not realized that? My bad. Let's just skip the parole hearing. All right. Let's jump in.
Tavon Jackson, 402-892.
This hearing is being conducted in consideration of the parole application for Tavon Jackson, 402-892. He is serving a sentence of 4 years, followed by 6 years special parole for trafficking in persons, promoting a minor in an obscene performance, telephone fraud, 3rd degree, reckless endangerment, 1st degree, and assault, 3rd degree. He is to remain on the sex offender registry for 10 years. As of today, records reflect the parole eligibility date of October 2nd, 2024. There is no victim input in this case. There is an offender accountability plan for the offender. It has been reviewed and shows the offender has completed the short track sex offender program. He is scheduled to complete domestic violence on Monday, September 30th, and he's currently participating in Tier 2, which ends November 29th, 2024. Utilizing the statewide collaborative offender risk evaluation system, the offender's overall score falls within the high range of risk for recidivating. Utilizing the static 99R, the offender's overall score for sexual offense recidivism falls within the high range. Mr. Jackson, this is your opportunity to express to the board why you believe you should be granted parole. You may begin.
I wrote a letter, if it's okay if I can read it.
Yes, please.
Okay. First off, I want to thank y'all for this opportunity. In these years, I changed everything about myself. I changed how I look at things. Things that I thought were acceptable is not acceptable. I had to think about what really matters in life and where I'm headed. Things that was glorified in my past, I learned is just not for me. I waste a lot of time being someone I'm not. In these cases, I made spur-of-the-moment decisions that affected both of my victims. I'm owning up to this, and I apologize to Jada for pulling her hair and fighting with her that night. I wish I would have done differently. I take full responsibility for my actions that night. I try to block out the memory because I'm ashamed. I was being toxic to her from my own and unaddressed trauma. I apologize to Leanna for being a negative influence instead of being positive, convincing her to do things that worsen her situation. Knowing the circumstances of the conditions but selfish just for money, I want y'all to know this wasn't premeditated. Had I thought about this, I would have never done what I did. I think about this every day and I wish I could take it back. I hope they both can heal and know I didn't make excuses, minimize, or negate the facts. I'm remorseful and aware of the impact I caused, and I take full accountability. When I came to jail, I knew how to address my behavior, how to break these patterns. I started off by staying ticket-free, avoiding negativity. I feel like that's the start from when I first get home. Avoiding impulsive decisions. I have no incidents, no tickets, this entire incarceration. I attended programs that actually learned from these programs. Short-term taught me where my behavior stemmed from and relapse prevention, as well as coping skills. Domestic violence taught me victims' impact, the impact behind my actions. It taught me how to refrain in healthy ways to deal with domestic problems. Most importantly, breaking patterns. Seeing this from the victim's shoes opened my eyes. It taught me a lot, and this is the peak of my remorse. I didn't have tier 2 on my OAP, but volunteer because I'm currently taking the steps to prevent future substance abuse. I want y'all to know I wasn't being lazy in here. I signed up for just about every program. Unfortunately, the waitlist didn't allow me to get all of them. If granted, I'm willing to take whatever program offered, including connection. My relapse prevention plan is to stay employed. I moved to Seymour, away from people, places, and things. I got a very supportive family, a girlfriend who believes in me, pushing me to be a better man, who's also my sponsor. I do everything I say I would and plan to accomplish. My daughter means the absolute world to me. She just started kindergarten. I prayed up until this day I get granted parole to be there for her. Moving forward, I plan to go back to college to be an addiction service counselor. I plan to stay drug-free because drugs play a part in these crimes and alcohol. And I plan to stay employed to be that statistic that y'all don't regret paroling. Most importantly, I plan to never be a friend. Considering the circumstances and the victims of my crime, this would be an absolute privilege and granted parole. That's it.
Okay, so thank you, Mr. Jackson, for your opening statement. What we're going to do is we've read about your background, we've read about these offenses, read about what you've done since you've been in. Based upon that, we have some questions for you. Then we're going to talk about your case and give you a decision, okay?
Okay.
All right, and we're going to start questions this afternoon with Board Member Smith Palmieri.
Thank you, Mr. Cole. So, Mr. Jackson, I appreciate your opening statement.
Thank you.
I need to ask, do you appreciate how serious and significant these charges are?
Yes.
You do?
Yeah, I know the magnitude of them. And, I was under alcohol. And like I said, this wasn't nothing premeditated. I was going through a lot of bad things at the time. And drugs and alcohol, kind of clouded my decisions.
Yeah, we see that a lot. Drugs and alcohol, people make poor decisions.
I didn't even know this was a thing. I didn't know it was a thing.
Yeah, okay, so that I'm going to ask you more about. But this went on for a few months, a period of time. It's not like a one and done that you were using drugs and made a bad decision. This prostitution, promoting prostitution, this poor young victim, went on for a while. You were making money off her. So when you say that, you didn't know that it was illegal, what didn't you know if that?
I didn't.
The case?
I'm sorry. I didn't mean I didn't know if it was illegal. I didn't know that. One, I didn't know the victim's age, and even regardless of her age, it was wrong what I'd done regardless, you know what I mean? Once I came to jail, my mind was cleared up, and then I started to see the paperwork and the police report, and then I'm like, that's when it hit me, the remorse and the things don't get me wrong, everything that I'd done was wrong, you know what I mean? It was going on for a week span with the victim, but like I said, I didn't know I didn't know her age and none of that, and that's when I figured out, things were wrong.
It went on for a week, you said?
Yeah, yes.
How long were you with the victim? I have months.
The police report, I only knew the victim for 1 week. I'm not gonna lie. You can see it in the police report.
That's where I'm getting my information from.
It says months.
Mm-hmm. It does.
I only knew her for 1 week.
So, and you knew her for a whole week and you didn't know that she was a minor.
All right, so when I first met her, she told me she was 19. We went to the hotel. Like I said, I'm taking full accountability. We went to the hotel. She didn't have no ID. That's when I kind of got the cue that she was younger. And that's when I should have stopped and tried to, you know what I mean, make a better decision, a rational decision. But like I said, I was caught in on the drugs and alcohol. I wasn't thinking. I was homeless at the time. I was just going through a lot. So that hotel, the hotel she was staying in, I was staying in.
Yep, and that's where you were conducting business.
Yes.
You know, some of it was a scam, some you were pimping her out, selling
Yes.
her. Yeah.
Like I said,
You
I'm
are on-
completely remorseful.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I hear that, you know, you are remorseful. And so what are you remorseful for?
I'm remorseful for one, like I said, I didn't know her age. And then when I got the police reports and I started to see her situation, and I'm like, wow, this girl went through a rough life. And that's why I said I'm remorseful for worsening her situation. I'm remorseful for the things that I've done because like this wasn't nothing that I always did. I never done this before. So this was a decision that I made off of spur of the moment decisions, you know, like I don't usually do this. So I'm remorseful for her for going through what she was going through and her trauma, and then me doing what I did.
But you were in your right mind enough to continue this scam, this scheme that you had going on too, defrauding. Not only were you selling her, but then you were, you know, making arrangements for people to think they were going to meet with her and taking their money and not showing up. Right. So you had quite an operation going on. And I'll agree with you. It's not something that is part of your criminal history. This is new. So I hear that you were on drugs, using alcohol, but certainly in your right mind to be running this scam for a while.
Yeah, it's not an excuse. And I don't want to come off as I'm trying to negate the facts or we're going back and forth. I'm not trying to make no excuse towards what I did. I did do what I did. And once I started doing it, I just kept going on with it. And that's what made it worse.
Right. And then you threatened the victim after you were arrested?
What victim?
You were stalking the victim, threatening to post intimate pictures online, wanting them to drop the charges.
You talk about the domestic?
Mm-hmm.
At the time, yeah, I didn't get arrested yet, but I got, the police was calling my phone and I called her and inquired. I didn't get arrested yet though. I got arrested February 3rd.
So you've taken the short-term sex offender treatment program, you're in the tier 2 and you completed the domestic violence. Talk to me a little bit about the sex offender treatment program. What do you think you learned from that program?
All right, so you know how I told you that I never done this before? All right, but when I did the sex offender treatment program, I started to see where the behavior stemmed from. Because it was a point in time in my past, I grew up and I went on the run when I was younger. I was like 13, 14 years old, and I lived in like a abandoned apartment with a pimp. And that's probably that I like identify those behaviors and see that it affected my future. And I learned relapse prevention, things that I could use, coping skills, and just basically identifying my triggers and where I can grow from.
Okay, so let's back that up a little bit. So you said you learned where this all originated from. You were living with a pimp yourself at one point, and now you've learned your triggers and your coping skills, and you have a relapse prevention plan. So what triggers have you learned?
I learned that poverty and going through problems and drinking is a trigger for me. Drinking and not having money make me make a rational decision. So my first thing is, that's why I put myself in tier 2, because substance abuse has always been a big thing with me. I need to just, when I get home, I need to get into NA, AA, any program you guys can offer, things like that, because substance abuse has been triggering me from day one since I started using and money. And that's why I feel like, yeah,
Drugs. And I have written here a sense of entitlement.
yeah. Me and my teacher, we kind of figured out, like, I felt like I was entitled to things, certain things, and that was wrong. Like, she taught me basically like how to retreat and basically notice the life full of people and other things. People have other needs and other things, and I need to take my time to get to where I need to go and not stop rushing and trying to, take shortcuts. So I'm not entitled to nothing. Like, even this is a privilege. I'm not entitled to it.
And now moving on, so what would be your relapse prevention plan?
My relapse prevention is to go home, maintain a job, get into NA, AA, stay with my sponsor, stay with the people that, like, because I'm involved with the church now, stay with the people that keeps me motivated. Do not go back to, because I'm not going to be in Bridgeport. I need to stay away from Bridgeport. Do not go back to Bridgeport. Stay away, because Bridgeport is another trigger for me. And just be around positive people and do positive things and keep my hobbies in mind.
And now you're just finishing up the domestic violence program. How is that program helping you make decisions differently?
So I just did the last class yesterday, and the last class really touched me. The Tracy Thurman story, and like I said, it was the peak of my remorse being in that class. It was the peak of my remorse. It showed me what I was doing wrong, how I can do things better. And in the case of a domestic violence situation where me or my spouse are getting into an argument where I could just walk away versus hurting that person, making another victim situation, and coming back to jail, and nobody wins,
Right. You were on probation when you were committing this offense. What were you doing with probation?
At first I was doing fine. Then they gave me another probation officer, and COVID came about. I got home. I was homeless at the time, and that's where it all started going downhill with the probation. And they gave me a couple programs. I showed up to the domestic violence program a couple times, but then I guess they closed it down, and then I didn't report to it. And like I said, it's no excuse too, but COVID came, and then it kind of messed up everything.
Why were you homeless? You have support in the community. Sounds like you have some family.
All right. So I had an apartment, and when COVID came, I lost my job. So when I lost my job at Simple Greek Restaurant, I was working at the restaurant in Westport. Well, no, Westport borderline. I lost my job, but COVID came, and that's when I couldn't pay the rent. So my landlord kicked me out. I ended up homeless, and that's when I started, getting into the bad things again.
And the person that you want to live with, Ms. Morgan,
Yes.
that's your girlfriend?
Yeah, she is.
Okay. And how long have you had a relationship with her?
For like 3 years. I knew her right before I came in here.
How do you explain these charges to her?
I take no shortcuts, no excuses. I told her that, I made some poor decisions and bad choices, and that I'm trying to redeem myself.
What's your plan for treatment in the community?
So when I was in here at McDougal, I met the connection people. I figured that would be a program. But even if I don't get parole, I'm gonna still seek for NA, AA, and try to do things to sober up, because at the end of the day, this is my life here. I got special parole after that, and other things. I gotta do better regardless. So it's like I'm at a corner, my back against the wall. I have nothing to lose but be better, do better. So I'm gonna seek any treatment that I can take. And it's another program that they got in here called Script. Script is for like trauma and stuff like that. So I see that's up in Hartford, but they said they're gonna be moving around. But I'm gonna try to travel up to Hartford here and there and try to see Script when I can. and getting that. I'm gonna just try as much progress as I can be in. Like, like I said, I got nothing to lose but all the game.
Okay, what are you thinking about employment?
All right, so my brother has a job for me installing windows when I get home. That's the first job, but I'm dealing with Holly Wasilewski. She's at the DOJ office in New Haven. I'm dealing with her. I got a reentry plan set up with her now, so she's gonna help me get jobs. But I'm still gonna be working an installment job right as soon as I get home.
What kind of communication have you had with Ms. Wasilewski?
I've been
Communication, have you talked to her?
Yeah, I've been talking to her over mail. I've been writing her a mail. She sent me the packet for the reentry thing. I filled that out, and then I guess as soon as I get home, I gotta call her and then go up there and meet her.
All right. All right, Mr. Jackson. Thank you for answering my questions.
No problem.
Thank you. Board Member Page.
I don't have any questions. Thank you.
I think it's been covered. Board Member Smith, come there.
I'm going to be honest with you. I came in to, not looking at granting parole, and I'm still not sure I'm there. He scores very high for risk to recidivate on the assessment and on the status 99. I hear, get a lot happening at the time. He was on drugs, using alcohol, but the offense itself, the offenses themselves happened over a period of time. We don't have victim, but the harm to the victim is really just something we don't see very often. He was on probation when this occurred. 27 when he committed the offense. He's 29 now. Certainly beyond a place where he should be making better decisions, not so impulsively. I understand it was a difficult time, but this is the fallback. It just seems, just incredibly harmful. I think that I don't want to take away that Mr. Jackson has done some good programs. He has no disciplinary reports. He's got 10 years on the sex offender registry. There's protective orders in place, but I'm not in favor of granting parole today due to the nature of the offenses themselves and the harm that was put forward to the victims that we read throughout the reports. And the fact that he scores high on both risk assessments. So I'm not in favor of voting to parole today.
Board Member Page.
Thank you, sir, Chair. So Mr. Jackson, I agree with Ms. Palmieri that, this case, these crimes were very, very serious. And I read through everything of how he even met the victim.
Right.
I mean, it was a lot.
Could have spent a lot of time going over
Exactly.
the details.
Yes. And, but I also understand that Mr. Jackson hasn't really been afforded a lot of not supervision in the community, but a parent for guidance. I heard him talking about his upbringing and how he went out on the street and had to really fend for himself. And although I do not condone any of this behavior whatsoever, I do think that he really has put forth his best effort to try to turn this thing around. He's still very young, and he has completed the treatment. He hasn't received any disciplinary infractions. Unlike the last person we've seen with 12 failures, this young man has 3 failures, and his were for selling drugs. Not that, again, that condones that, but it looks as if he really was trying to make things happen in the wrong way. Wrong way of thinking. Definite criminal thinking there. However, it really does sound like he understands the magnitude of things that he was doing and that he really doesn't want to go back out and do this kind of thing anymore. So I think that he's done the programming, and I know he's not eligible until October, and he's in the tier 2 program that doesn't end until November 29th. I would love to see him finish doing that, but I would support his request for discretionary parole so that he can go out there and start those 6 years of special parole that he has to follow. No, it's making the odd man out.
I haven't even talked yet.
It's just so, most of the time I'm the one that's denied.
Yeah, this,
But hang on.
sorry.
It's a lot to overlook. Like, I absolutely understand Miss Palmieri's position. Like, this is so convoluted. Like,
I understand where both of you stand.
just imagine, that's a good use. It's, there's something positive. All of that thought and organizing and all that other, like, it just amazes me how smart some of these people are, but they use all that intelligence for something negative. It just bothers me. Anyway.
I mean, for me, it's I'm having a hard time getting past the nature of circumstance.
Understandable. There's no doubt that he knew what he was doing. There's no doubt.
I'm gonna let DOC handle this one. I just can't get past the nature and circumstance. And that's what I have is nature and circumstance, current offense committed on probation.
Yep.
Current offense. I have no alcohol, domestic violence, problem sexual behavior, no contact with minors without parole officer's permission, enhanced internet device monitoring, no contact with LC or JK. Okay, regarding Tavon Jackson 402-892, move to deny parole for the following reasons: nature and circumstances of the current offense committed while on probation, and to set the following special parole conditions: no alcohol consumption, community-based treatment for domestic violence, problem sexual behavior, no contact with minors without parole officer's permission, enhanced internet and device monitoring, no contact with victims, LC or JK. Is there a second?
Second.
Those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no.
Nope.
The ayes have it. Mr. Jackson, we weren't able to give you parole today. We did set your special parole stipulations. I heard loud and clear what Board Member Page said. And that's, you're headed in the right direction. And I would continue to head in that direction and see what you can do with some vocational things and stuff like that during the rest of your time and do the best you can in tier 2. And, look and see what DOC has for halfway house. For halfway house release, community release. Okay.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
This
Have a nice day.
This concludes the parole hearing for Tavon Jackson, 402-892.
Oh my gosh, Mike Poll denied. I'm shocked. Is this a first? We got to check. I did not believe it. I really did not believe it. How is that possible? I didn't know Mike Poll could deny anything. I'm going to go over the facts of the case. You know, we had dissent in Page. Of course, Page wanted back. I mean, I thought for sure, when you have a hearing where Poll is there, and you tell me that someone's going to vote first and say, "Sure, I want a grant," and it's majority vote, I would have bet the whole house and everything that he was going to get granted. That's rare. So let me go over. I'll go over his criminal record, and then I will also go over the case of events that led up to his arrest. And by the way, they say in this report that they believed he was pimping out 4 girls. Only one of them was underage, so it's not like this was a one and done thing. It seems to be what he's doing. And it's funny. I watch a lot of Soft White Underbelly, and you'll hear from those that are pimps that they will not get anywhere near an underage girl because it's the chances of them getting busted and going to prison are quite high because of these type of scenarios. So is it possible he actually didn't know her age? Because that's a pretty dumb thing to do if you get caught, or it could be he just didn't care because, it's not like he has a track record of caring. He's as soon as he says, I'm being honest. Come on. Yeah. 1 week. Okay. It's like, that's what he thought was in the police report. That's what he thought he can get away with. And we approved that. We have information that would make one believe that it was going on for at least 6 months. So let's start with the criminal record, which, by the way, Connecticut only shares with us 10 years. And he has his record starts on literally on the day of the 10th year. So we're only getting is probably much longer than what we're even seeing. I think that's would be a fair statement to say. But it starts, let's see, on 2013, he has criminal mischief, 2014, reckless endangerment, another 2015, possession intent to distribute, 2015, possession with intent to distribute, 2014, sale, interference with officer, violation of probation, 2017, use of motor vehicle without permission, 2016, interference with an officer, 2018, interference with an officer, 2021, and all these sentences, by the way, they're little sentences with most of it suspended probation. I never understood how you can have all this probation and then not to eventually, come, where now he'd get all this time. In Connecticut, they don't seem to care. Reckless endangerment, and then finally the trafficking, where even with all his history and all this probation and all these suspended sentences, he finally gets this trafficking charge with the minor, and the most that they give him is 4 years. Sentence of 4 years, special parole 6 years. It's like, really? So here's the information. Thank you, Sir Richard. It's not easy finding this stuff. Believe me, the media doesn't really care about these type of stories. So, it's not like you can. It's anyways. Okay. This is written December 3rd, 2022. To think that an article's written 2022 and he's having a parole hearing 2024 is mind-blowing in itself. But okay, so repeatedly sexually assaulted by a grandfather and another relative, police said that the teenage girl fled her New York home and ended up wandering around Times Square. If you think about the tragedy in this, but this happens all far too often. That's where police said she met 27-year-old Mr. Jackson. He helped me sell my body, police said the teen recently told a forensic interviewer. According to the arrest warrant affidavit, Detective Albert Palatiello Jackson got the 16-year-old girl a room at the Sunnyside Inn in Bridgeport, Connecticut, gave her a cell phone, and posted her photograph on an escort website. The girl said she began seeing buyers at 5 or 6 in the morning and throughout the day and night, the affidavit states. On some nights, she could not sleep. She charged between $80 and $150 per buyer, and Jackson would come in and collect the money after each customer had left the hotel room. Jackson was arrested Friday and charged with trafficking, first-degree promoting prostitution, promoting a minor in obscene performance. During Jackson's arraignment Friday, Deputy Assistant State's Attorney, watch him, he's going to come out and say something all tough, right? Told Superior Court judge there is evidence of possibly 3 other girls the defendant was prostituting. Court records show that Jackson was recently placed on parole after being convicted of another sex-related crime that was reduced to telephone fraud and threatening charges. Can you even imagine? He's on parole for an already reduced charge when he's picked up on this, and he still only gets 4 years. Jackson's lawyer assistant, public defender, Mr. Dennis, urged leniency for his client, arguing that Jackson is not accused of sexually assaulting the girl. No. He only forced her. Right, okay. He also pointed out that Jackson's parole has now been revoked, and he must resume his original 2-year sentence. Judge Holden ordered Jackson, in lieu of $750,000 bond, continued the case until January 18th. He also ordered Jackson to have no further contact with the girl and her family. Wow, Judge, you are a brute. You lay that hammer down. The warrant affidavit states that in September of 2020, the victim's mother... So this is September of 2020, okay? When the contact is first made. They don't find her picture until June 4th of 2021. So, that's, what is that, 6 months or something? I'm not good at math, I know. The warrant affidavit states that in September 2020, the victim's mother contacted police that she believed her daughter had been kidnapped, but without further information, the case was not pursued. However, the affidavit states that the detective continued to search the online databases on the chance that he might spot the victim's photograph. Good job, detective. On June 4th, 2021, he ran the girl's photo through a facial recognition search tool and found 3 ads under the name Ginger with Jackson's contact number. The ads showed the victim lying nude in a bed at the Sunnyside Inn with the description, "Come give me a chance to fulfill your every fantasy, no matter how wild." With the assistance of the police department, narcotics, and vice division, the detective contacted the number on the ad and arranged to meet Ginger at the motel for $100. Police set up surveillance at the motel, but neither the girl nor Jackson showed up. The affidavit states that police later served a search warrant on Jackson and seized his phone. Located on the phone were photographs of Jackson holding stacks of money, explicit photographs of men and women, and text messages arranging prostitution. The affidavit states police said the victim was located and is currently in a treatment center. So I guess that was like the thing they were talking about, that they were so concerned about, that he was ripping off Johns. I felt like the parole board was more concerned about ripping off Johns than they were of this whole scenario. But look at all the money and resources, detectives, and then and on this long record, and it's still just a 4-year sentence. He's articulate. I thought he was well spoken. We saw a lot of hearings today, and he's so far out of like 5 hours of hearings. He was the most articulate and well spoken. But I don't have empathy for the pimps. It's the crazy. I think the whole thing. It's just terrible. And she's 16 years old. But he could argue. It's probably worth it for him. You know, he makes the amount of money, $100 for a session. She's working all night. He'd be making how many $1,000 a day off of four or $5,000 a day. I mean, he's literally could be making just the most insane amount of money. He could just do the math. Well, a couple years in prison, sure, it's the cost of doing business. And the system just doesn't care. They really don't. And with that, I'll let you go.
Went on for a while. You know, you were making money off her. So when you say that, you know, you didn't know that it was illegal, what didn't you know if that?
No, I
be
didn't.
the case?
I'm sorry. I didn't mean I didn't know if it was illegal. I didn't know that. One, I didn't know the victim's age, and even regardless of her age, it was wrong what I'd done regardless. You know what I mean? Once I came to jail, my mind was cleared up, and then I started to see the paperwork and the police report, and then I'm like, that's when it hit me, the remorse and the things no, don't get me wrong, everything that I'd done was wrong. You know what I mean? It was going on for a week span with the victim, but like I said, I didn't know it was like, I didn't know her age and none of that, and that's when I figured out, you know, things were wrong.
It went on for a week, you said?
Yeah, yes.
How long were you with the victim? I have months.
The police report, I only knew the victim for 1 week. I'm not gonna lie. You can see it in the police report.
That's where I'm getting my information from.